What's up, YouTube? Pheano here. Just got back from Worlds and want to go over my Dromai deck profile with you guys that I played in the LL portion of Worlds. I will be having a partner video to this for my Gravy Bones deck, as well as I'll probably be doing like a story time or something on stream, so stay tuned for that. And before I jump into the deck list, if you would like access to this deck list yourself, it will be in the description below. I'll have a link to a normal version of the deck list, as well as a Patreon article where I will have the full deck list with all of the sideboard plans. It's just $5 a month. Check out the Patreon. If you get value out of the channel, feel free to support me. Helps me make more great content like this. That being said, let's jump into it. As you can see, we got a swath of equipment here. We're playing Royal and Balance. Basically, I'm playing Balance for just like a couple matchups where I really need to like slow down a bit and make sure that I can block in the matchup, like Marlin. The rest of the time, we're just slamming Royal in basically every matchup. We're swapping between Calming Gesture and Stonewall Gauntlet, depending on if we need the AB, but also depending if we just need a way to make Ash. For example, if we're playing Balance of Justice, we don't have the gold to make Ash with, so I do actually go Calming Gesture a lot of the times just to have an outlet to make Ash, kind of like how you used to use the Seeker's Gloves back in the past. And then we're playing Dragon Scaler, Flight Path, and Flame Scale Furnace in basically every matchup, but we do have the Base of the Mountain for Starvo. I found that that made the matchup significantly more comfy, just to basically be like, no, you're not doing your funny turn, I am blocking this turn, you're not getting to get tempo back. Then as far as the deck goes, we've got most of the dragons in here. There's just like a couple noticeable exclusions from the deck. We're not playing Thamai. I actually did have Thamai in the deck for quite a while. I like that dragon quite a bit. It has some like incidental text in a lot of places. For example, against the Elemental Rune Blades, it means they can't use Shock to ping one of your dragons and steal your action point. It means people can't draw a card off of Balance of Justice if you play Tome. Obviously good against the wizards, but I really wasn't expecting to see very many wizards, and you know, I honestly wasn't expecting to see very many Elemental Rune Blades, so I ended up cutting it from the deck. It's got some text in some other places too, like it can stop Blizzard and things like that against Starvo, but I wanted the card slots, and it just really wasn't coming up often enough that it was relevant, and honestly, in a lot of the times that it was coming up, I was winning those games anyways. No Nekrias, though I did really want to fit that into the list because I was having like some Ash problems in a couple of matchups, but you know, whatever, I'll just play smarter with my Ash. That's kind of why I played the drop of Dragon Blood. I just wanted like one more way to make Ash in the deck. I was like a little bit lacking in ways to make Ash, but the matchup, the format is so fast that a lot of the times you really don't have space to do those cute things to make Ash. So I just said, I'm just gonna make sure that I can play the game and have the most efficient strategy possible, because some of these games are only lasting a couple turns. We've got a swath of D-Reacts and defensive cards in the deck. We've got our tomes, and then we've got an interesting include down here in Dissolve Reality and Diamond Amulet. I'm gonna come back to those in a little bit because I need to yap on those for quite a while. But overall, this is the list. Just basically just slam all the dragons, put a bunch of efficient attacks in the deck like Blaze Headlong, E-Strike, and things like that. Just ways to let me push my board, and some defensive tools. So overall, the strategy with the deck that I was leaning into was Dragon Scaler Flight Path. This card is absolutely busted. We now have our own funny turn in Dromai. When I say funny turn, what I mean, you might have heard me talk about this like on podcasts and streams before. Basically, it's just like you're doing some crazy above rate thing. That's your funny turn. So for example, Striders in Wizard or Scalata in Viscerai. That's your funny turn. You're doing the thing. You're going way above rate on that turn. This is our own version of that. So if you're not familiar with this card, you can pay 3 to give a Draconic attack go again. If it is a weapon or an ally, you can attack with it an additional time. And then this ability costs 1 less for each Draconic Chainlink you control. Now, importantly for us, you do not have to target your last chain link to use this on. You can target any chain link. The go again is not relevant there, but playing Dromai, everything has go again. We're not playing it for the go again text. We're targeting a dragon that we've attacked with on this turn and then attacking with it again for free. So we've got some really sick dragons that we can do that with. Obviously, we've got the goat, Kyloria, just snatch him again. And sometimes stealing an item is really good. For example, in Dio, this is just disruption. They have to block this or you brick their turn. Give me that processor. Like, you don't get to combo anymore. So we can use our boots to double Kyloria them and tell them to, stop trying to kill me for a turn or don't combo me for a turn. Obviously tumultying them or dominioning them twice is insane. There's just so much damage, so much value, and in a lot of the matchups, just like blowing up any of their equipment is game winning, let alone two of them. This happened to be into one of my Viserai games. I just blew up his Scalata before he got to use it, and the game just ended instantly. He just could not recover from that. It was just too much value that he lost on the turn. And then this is why we have Ansarakai in the deck. This was a very late inclusion in my deck, an idea of Yuanji's actually, because he was actually playing Dromai for a hot second and then he pivoted back into, I think, Viserai. Idea being more funny cards to go with your boots. I was a little skeptical at it at first, and then I started playing and I was like, no, wait, there's something here. Man, an 18-point swing and they still have to get it off the board. It's insane. What ends up happening in a lot of the matchups in LL is, you're playing Dromai, so everything you're doing is just more efficient than your opponent. You just have some of the best value cards in the game. All of your cards are above rate. So what ends up happening is you're trading back and forth with your opponent, and they're going down faster than you are because your deck is just better than them when you're playing normal Flesh and Blood. But then what ends up happening is they get their funny turn, and your life just goes way down. And then we get into this weird state of the game that's like kind of grindy, kind of scrappy, where now they have to find a way to close the game, but our deck is still better than theirs when we're playing normal Flesh and Blood. So they're still going down faster than we are, but eventually they find a way to close the game because we're just too low at that point. The idea with the boots and this strategy is we're going to go down kind of together. They're a little bit faster than us. And then we're going to trade funny turns. So instead of what happened before of, we go down faster on that one turn, we're just going to go down together on that turn and reset. But I still have a board state and you still have to clear it. And my deck is still better than yours. And this strategy worked fantastically. I did this in almost every single game that I played, and it won me almost every single game instantly when I got to do it. Now, there is some risk reward with this. Poppers, very detrimental to the strategy. If they pop one of these dragons, you might just lose the game instantly. So having like a Miragai in play, pretty important, or swinging the Dominia first and taking their popper out of their hand, pretty important. But also, even if they pop, whatever, like, they're playing a combo deck in a lot of these situations, so taking a card out of their hand is usually good enough. Like, I just wanted them to fuck off for a turn and stop hitting me. They blocked with a card. They're not going to kill me this turn. And like, okay, they gave me Ninth Blade. Now I'm not getting hit by Ninth Blade. This is an absolute victory. Cinema. Now, the other aspect of the strategy is we're trying to, set it up. We need ways to actually hit the 3 chain links for this. Now, technically, you don't need 3 chain links. You can just pay into this. I have done this before. For example, I'll play like a Tome and I will play a Miragai and a Kyloria. I'll swing both of them. I'll still have one floating because I activated Furnace, and then I'll activate the boots with my one floating, targeting the Kyloria so I can swing again, and I get a free card. That's fine. That's just pretty good. But ideally, we're trying to have the 3 chain links. So we have a couple enablers in the deck. Now, we only need 2 chain links in addition to whatever we're doing to be able to do the thing, because in all these situations, we already have the 1 chain link of the thing we're trying to target with the boots. So no matter what, we've got 1 dragon that we're putting into play that we want to target with boots. That's 1 chain link. So we need 2 more. So obviously, we've got Rake the Embers. That's just an all-star in Dromai. For all time, this card is great. The other card I added, though, to help with the strategy was Billowing Mirage. This was not originally in my deck, but as I leaned more and more into the strategy, I found I just needed more ways to generate these chain links. This was a great way to do that, and it gave me some more ways to like pitch into cards and go Ash neutral, which was a bit of an issue that the deck was running into with its whole resource management. So like, it was a bit of a glue for one area, and it enabled our core gameplay strategy in the main area that we were focusing on. It is a Draconic Chain Link. It creates an Ashwing. It's 1 more Draconic Chain Link. Now we've got to add in the thing that we're trying to target with boots. We're good. Let's go. And in addition to that, it's just a physical attack. If you never played Dromai, one of the things that you typically are looking for is some like chain extenders that are physical attacks because of how detrimental poppers can be for you. So you want to be able to go like, you know, here's a couple attacks, push your life total down, and then I'll start swinging my dragons. And I made my opponent decide whether or not they want to take all of this damage before they even get a chance to pop me. Now let's circle back around to some of these cards that I had down here. So as you can see, we have a number of blues. There's two main reasons that we have these blues in the deck, just like having blues in general. Number one, against Viserai, I wanted to have a few more cards that just could pitch to Arcane, because as I said, those games get kind of scrappy and they try to just kill you with Arcane. What typically ends up happening is we get to this end state of the game and they just spend every turn of the game killing our board and shooting Arcane over the top of our dragons at our face. So they clear our board, hit us, clear our board, hit us. And if we're low, we might just die from the Arcane and have no counterplay to that, or pitch a bunch of reds, which like we're losing the game doing that anyways. So I just wanted like a few blues in the deck so that way I could actually prevent the Arcane. But in addition, they had a second function. We're trying to play these really expensive dragons like Tomotai, Dominia, and Vinserakai. We actually need resource cards to pay for these cards. So like the only thing that we have that does it is Tome of Imperial Flame. I'm not trying to pitch 4 reds to play Dominia. Like, no, I'm not doing that. So these served two functions. Early on in the game, it helps us pay for these expensive dragons. Later on in the game, they're block cards to prevent damage. And they actually have some text in these matchups. As I said, the popper's pretty relevant. Passing Mirage really helps with that. I'll play an early Passing Mirage against these Rune Blades if I have the space to do it. Warmongers, honestly, I don't really like this card very much, and I really wanted to cut it, but I felt like I needed like one more set of disruption in the deck for Dio, and I really couldn't find anything else that made sense to put in the deck. Unless I wanted to change this into a red, like Erase Face or something. Then I'm just playing that for like the one matchup. I really don't like it versus Viserai and other matchups. Like I know they have text there, but I just didn't feel like I was actually winning the game by playing Erase Face into Viserai. So I just wanted that one more form of disruption, and it still served a function of helping us cast these dragons. And it's also good against Marlin. Like you can just cast Warmongers, and then they just look at you and then pass turn. Like it's so good against them. Just one card Time Walk. The Diamond Amulet, I didn't get a chance to use this a ton. The theory behind this card was it was mostly for Starvo. It's just a way to, you know, push the board if they pop you and you need to keep going and kill them. A bit of an anti-fatigue tool, bit of a tempo tool, helps us cast some of the big dragons. I'm not married to this card, honestly. It only came up a few times in testing, and it was mostly a theory thing. But I'm pretty happy I had it in the list just as like a safety net, just in case I ran into some like ignorant fatigue deck or something popped up in the format. But it's something that you could definitely cut if you're trying to build this at home. Now for the all-star of the list, the creme de la creme, the thing that was the glue to make me play Dromai. I'm gonna be honest, I almost didn't play Dromai. I spent like a week straight crashing out on the Viserai matchup. We got the BNR, Cinema, all the decks that aren't my deck got nerfed. Meta looks like it's shifting into a way that's good for Dromai. I'm sending it. Let's play Dromai. I start playing into the Viserai matchup, and I'm getting smushed. I cannot take a game off of any of the Viserais, and I'm playing into like my teammates, locals, randos on Talishar. I can't take a goddamn game off of them. I'm crashing out. I might have to play a different deck. I'm looking at my options. I'm like, man, do I learn how to play Zen or something? Like, what do I do? And then I discover Dissolve Reality. I say discover. This is like something that's been in the tool bag of Illusionists for quite a while. I used to play this in Enigma. It was really good there. But I had never considered this card in Dromai because this just like really wasn't around when Dromai was around. I believe we got this like right at the tail end of her legality, but it just never really was a card that you played in the deck back then. I think that's like a bit of because of the shape of the meta. Because the strength of this card really is shown in Enigma and her specific play patterns, where you're trying to create asymmetry of how many cards both of you have access to, so that way it's hard to crack your ward. Not really a concern you have in Dromai. And to combat the power level of specific cards. Let me explain. So the way that LL works is most decks are operating on a multiplicative scaling damage kind of axis of the game, where if you look at normal Flesh and Blood, most cards, like in Classic Constructed, for example, most cards are worth like 3.5. Like you're getting about 3 per card. And it's pretty flat. It's pretty hard to go above that. You got to do some funny stuff to go above that. And it's pretty broken when you do. In LL, a lot of cards on their own are terrible. You're playing towards the sum of your parts being greater, like the whole is greater than the sum of the parts type of thing. Where you'll have cards that are like worth 2 value, but on your funny turn, each card is worth like 4 to 5 value. Look at Viscerai. You're not getting 3 per card when you're playing Viscerai. Sometimes you're getting like 5 per card when you average out the total value of everything. Sometimes more because of how broken Sonata plus Chest is. These decks are trying to scale up the value by getting access to more cards, because the more cards they have access to, the higher their value per card is. Which means that disruption is very good in the format. If you can deny your opponent the ability to have larger hand sizes, it tanks their value per card significantly. The problem you run into Dromai is poppers. What am I going to do? Am I going to just pitch 2 reds to play a Command and Conquer? Am I going to send in my team of dragons and then hold 2 cards in hand and just hope they don't have a popper so I can throw the Command and Conquer? And then they just give me armor because this is the only on hit I'm going to play all game? It's pretty dubious. Like, you're really hoping for a lot to go right when you do that. Dissolve Reality, though. Uninteractable disruption. They can't do anything about it. And there's 2 bonus things. 1, the most important cards that most decks are playing are getting plopped in their arsenal. I found my Sonata, arsenal. As soon as my hand functions, no blocks, you're dead. And that's what they're doing. That's what a lot of decks in these formats are trying to do. Put funny card in arsenal, no blocks, kill you. No, you can't do that. Dissolve Reality, get rid of your funny card. And then on top of that, a lot of these decks ponder really poorly because they're trying to put very specific cards in arsenal, and they have a lot of doo-doo cards that just like, I don't want to put this in arsenal. It's terrible. Let me, like, what am I going to put this blue swarming in an arsenal? Like, no, I don't want to do that. I will because it's free and I have to, but I don't want to do that. I just lost a ton of value from that. In addition, Dromai is probably one of the decks that utilizes Ponder tokens the best in the entirety of Flesh and Blood. All of the cards in my deck are busted. Every single one is a fantastic arsenal. Like, the worst is you hitting one of these blues, or like, I don't know, a legendary dragon after you've seen a lot of blues or something. You're very good at utilizing Ponder tokens. With all that to be said, Dissolve Reality was an all-star, and I don't think this deck is remotely playable without it. You need some way to slow your opponent down and make them play normal Flesh and Blood with you. That's what this card does. It was fantastic. It won me a ton of games. 10 out of 10 would play it again. Now, before signing off, I just have a few more random thoughts. First of all, what did I play against? I kind of skipped past that whole part and just jumped into talking about the deck list. So I played against 2 Viscerais, a Marlin, a Zen, a Chain, which you guys can see on stream. That was quite a funny game. We'll definitely be talking about that on my stream later. And a Starvo. The deck did exactly what it was designed to do against these aggro decks, where I did my funny turn with my boots, pushed them down. Either they didn't get to have their funny turn now, or we traded and, you know, now I'm in a favorable position because I have the board state. Against Marlin, I did my funny turn. They got really low. I actually made a bit of a mistake that cost me a bit of damage in that game. I went to 0 Ash and I forgot to Furnace. Oops, just forgot to do it because been practicing a Talistar, not paper. But it didn't matter. Like, he had already burned through all of his good arrows. The deck has a finite number of like cards that matter, and I just kept blocking until he ran out of cards that were relevant, and then started playing the game again. And then once I get dragons on the board, they can never win the game because like they can't hit me and deal with my dragons. Against a Starvo, deck did what it was supposed to do. I traded damage. I put a bunch of shit in play. They went, oh shit, what do I do? Go faced or kill board? both choices are going to lose me the game. I guess go face, and I went, okay, I'll block and then kill you with my board, and then they died. Against the Zen, it was actually pretty funny. He bricked pretty hard at the beginning of the game, and then he got set up to do his funny turn, but then I dissolved his card, and then I dissolved his card again, and the game ended with me at 42 and him at 0. It was pretty goofy. He just like didn't do anything and then died, but that wouldn't have been possible if I wasn't playing Dissolve Reality. Like, that was all on the back of that card. And then my game against Chain on stream, it was quite goofy. I I thought I had a Moragai in Arsenal on turn 1, and then I went to play it and I pitched a card, and then it was a Dissolve Reality, and then I just like got stun locked for a second, and I'm like, that's a really weird looking Moragai. Ah, shit, I fucked up. If only there was a mechanic in the game that existed that would allow you to look at your own face down cards. Ugh. They should add that rule to the game, you know, that'd be swell. I'm joking, of course, I'm just a bozo. But I think I actually could have won that game if things broke a little bit better for me. I pushed his life total down really fast on one of the early turns, but then he just went pop, disruption, pop, disruption, pop, disruption, like 3 turns in a row or something, which was honestly pretty unreasonable for him to have a draw like that. I think he was only on like 9 forms of pop / disruption, because his disruption was his poppers. So for him to draw, you know, 2 together, multiple hands in a row, oh, that's pretty unlucky, but it is what it is. And then we had a turn where I have lost this game. Like, there is no way I'm winning anymore. But I look at my hand, and I got 2 blues, a Dominia, and a Rabble. And if I make the safe play and just like block and try to fatigue him, I always lose this game. I'm never going to win if I do that. I think I'm like 5% to win with the line that I went with, but also most importantly, it was far more entertaining for stream. So I went slam Dominia, hit you, take the blue out of your hand. It has no Phantasm because I have a passing in play. Crack boots, swing it again, take the other blue out of your hand, and then he pops it, and now he's playing a 1-card hand. There's a chance I could win this game. Like, maybe he hits a ton of blood debt off of his shackles over the next 2 turns, and then I draw Warmongers and play it. Extremely unlikely, but there's a chance. That did not happen, and then I died. But, you know, I played to my 1 out, and to me, more importantly, I got to do something fun for stream of doing this, like, really sweet play. It is what it is. Great game. Had fun playing. Now, for any changes that I would make to the list moving forward, there was one card that I was really considering, and it kept going in and out of my list, and that was Scar for a Scar. Almost every single game I played, I was behind on life typically. So that was a card that was like really heavily being considered in my list for a long time. I ended up going with E-Strike instead because there was like a number of matchups that was coming in that I valued the 3 block more than the functionality of being able to, you know, cast this for like go again or whatever. So I ended up going with E-Strike instead, but I could potentially convince myself that it should have been Scar instead. It comes up that would have been good, but that was a card that I was considering. Feat for Scene, another one that I was considering. I ended up cutting it. I wanted a few more D-Reacts for Marlin because that matchup goes from like comfy to actually you can never beat me with a couple more D-Reacts. But it was messing up my sideboarding in a number of matchups, so I opted out of playing it and just cut it for the E-Strikes instead. Similarly, another defensive card, Arcane Polarity. That was another card that was on my list of things that I wanted to play. It was pretty good in those games against Viserai where things got scrappy, but I ended up going with the blues instead because I needed the blues to cast my big dragons. I could convince myself maybe I could have shaved a couple for the polarity, but pretty similar to the Fate issue, it messed up some of my sideboarding where like, well, now I'm having to play like a D-React in matchup I don't want a D-React or something like that because the nature of what these blues were, like I did actually want these in a number of matchups specifically. And as I mentioned earlier, I was considering Necria. Being able to like swing Necria, trigger burn them all, make an Ash is pretty good for your Ash economy. Be able to shoot it with your Asvali, pretty good. I just couldn't find the space for it. Like maybe I'm supposed to play it over the Uvia, but I found that the Uvia eliminated an entire win condition from Starvo, and it's also pretty good in the mirror. Necria is also pretty good in the mirror, but like Uvia just made it so there was no way Starvo could fatigue me. there was some universes that Starvo could fatigue this list without it. So I was like, I'm just gonna, you know, put the nail in that coffin and not give them any win conditions. The only way you can win is by racing me, and I don't believe in your ability to actually win a race against me. So I think I win like 70% of the time that you try racing me, and 100% of the time when you try fatiguing me. So that was kind of my logic there. I could also see cutting the drop of Dragon Blood for something else to help with the Ash economy. I wanted something in the deck to help with that, and this is what I landed on. I'm not convinced this was the perfect card for that, but it's what I ended up going with. So like, maybe it could be something else, maybe 2 for 6 or something like that. I'd be curious to hear what you guys think it could be good over this, genuinely, but that's the list. I'm pretty satisfied with how it did. I went 5-1, won the matchups that it was supposed to win, lost the matchups it was supposed to lose. I executed my game plan in every game, and it worked in every game that it's supposed to work. Honestly, by the end of the LL portion, I was just sitting there being like, I could actually just play more LL games right now. I'm having a lot of fun, and I was really not expecting myself to have fun with this because of how degenerate the format seemed. I found a strategy that helped stifle a lot of the degeneracy, so I was having a good time. I think if I got turn 2 killed every game, though, I probably wouldn't have been having fun, and I would have been, you know, having a different tone right now. But it is what it is. I won my game, so I had fun. It'd be like that sometimes. That being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Again, I'll be having one of these coming out for Gravy Bones soon. And if you are interested in the deck list, it's going to be in the description, as well as a Patreon link that has all of the sideboard plans. And even if you don't want that, feel free to subscribe to my Patreon. Help support the channel, helps me make more great content like this. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you guys.